Hi everyone, I'm Belle, and today I'm going to be doing a talk through of my latest release, Es Lilin. Es Lilin is my reimagination of the traditional Indonesian tune, and I had originally written this piece for prepared piano, but it's perfectly playable and enjoyable on an unprepared piano as well. The original folk song itself was from the Sunda region, the Sundanese culture. And just giving you a really quick context, the Sundanese people were traditionally concentrated in the provinces of West Java and Jakarta. And when we talk about Indonesian gamelan, the gamelan is actually the traditional ensemble music of Javanese people, Balinese people, but also Sudanese as well. So I'm going to make this talk through, short and snappy. Here we go. This piece opens with the Sudanese Degung scale, which is, and in fact, the melodic component of this rework of Es Lilin is a bit of an interplay between two gamelan scales. The first is a Degung scale that you've heard. The second is a Sorog scale, which is actually the original melody of Es Lilin. So that's a scale. The left hand enters in a gong-like manner. Here, the left hand starts to subdivide into what looks like an Alberti bass. Alberti bass is very commonly seen in Western classical music, especially music from the classical era, like those from Mozart and Haydn and Clementi. So, like. And the Alberti bass in Western music is used often for harmonic purposes and to create a movement of moving forward. And as classical pianists, we very often play it and phrase it in a linear manner. So, something like that. But here in this piece, I would like us to envision each pitch of these groups as different instruments, and in particular different tuned percussion instruments. Because when we do that, then we can play around with the voicing and accenting and create different textures like you would in a percussion ensemble. For example, all these is possible, and that's what inspired this particular segment. Okay, so let's continue. Here is the end of the first verse, and the right hand melody stops. The right hand then moves on to play triplets, and these triplets were inspired by swills or bell sounds. So we're moving from what is a melodic and lyrical line into a more percussive sound. And here, harmonically speaking, we're also beginning to broaden up. You hear the note A in the right hand, which doesn't belong to the original Degung or Sorog scales. So here is beginning of the hints towards a more Western sounding tonality. Here is a sudden disruption, and it's like someone disrupts the music and go, whoa, guys, hold up. Then we have the Degung scale entering again, hinting the beginning of the second verse. In the second verse, the texture of the piece broadens, and the right-hand bell-like sounds that you heard from the transition, like the triplets, they extend into the section and plays off the lyrical legato melody up the top. For me, this is like a part where two friends are talking. One is a lyrical melody singer, and the other one is the one that goes. So it's a bit more cheeky and a bit more humorous. And these two voices play off each other. Here, the two friends' voices finally converge. They finally agree on something. And then we're moving into the second transition. Here, the transition is a fast succession of the Degung scale and then the bell motive. All this is over the bed of. Remember to keep this light. So there's the frequent hint of the A comes back. So there's actually a lot of tension and friction in this transition that's building up. And here, finally, at bar 50, we break free completely for the first time into Western harmony. So we start with the D major chord, and then we enter into C major 7th. For me, in the section, I wanted to create a sense that is like an airplane gearing up for takeoff. You know, when an airplane is kind of lining up on a tarmac, queuing for the takeoff. And eventually the pilot gets the all clear. And that moment where the plane lines up and start to begin its run on the airstrip, that is exactly what this section is. There is a lot of anticipation built into this section with a polyrhythm. And through this section, there is also a continued accelerando with occasional hints of bells and gongs. Here the polyrhythm stops, and we've now reached our next tempo. You can hear the harmonically, the bass line finally lifts after 12 bars of slowly fluctuating. And this is like the point where the airplane lifts into the air and becomes airborne. A note when doing this accelerando in polyrhythm, in this section in particular, it's helpful to think and feel in groups of minimum beats. And it's important to keep this pulse, because this is a pulse that you'll be accelerating on and building on. Because without it, accelerando or getting faster in polyrhythm can very easily sound chaotic. So try to keep this pulse. Okay, so. This is the next section, which is one of my favorite sections in this song, because for me, it just bursts of joy, like a really pure childlike excitement and happiness. In the right hand, it's kind of like someone singing out loud, without a care in the world. And the ornaments, a hint at the decorations are often heard in the metallophones in the Gamelan. And so. How do you do the turns very fast and clearly? And my tip would be that when you have fast notes, it's important to find an anchor. So for example, in this group of 3, I'm not playing all 3 notes with equal intention and weight, because that would just be very hard in a fast speed, and it will be very tense as well. So what we do is we kind of, if you imagine the movement of ricochet, or like just like this, and just make sure your fingers are still working, but make sure you're traveling towards the anchor, which is the main note. the third C. So do try it. I hope it helps. Okay, anyway, so... So in this section, it's kind of like a mixture of everything that we've heard before. We have the sing out loud, the ornaments, and then occasionally you get the, which throws back into that bell-like polyrhythm and sound. Then you have the Degung skill from the intro coming in, throwing a word in before going back to the percussive bells, and then back to the singing melody. And here we enter into the next section, which is what I refer to as a hand gliding section. The section was inspired by the imagery of like smoothly gliding over the lush jungle on a sunny day. Or if we keep the airplane analogy, this would be the feeling of, you know, when a plane is coming towards its destination, but it's still circling around the city or the location before making its final descent. It's that kind of gliding feeling. Now, on the surface, this section is full of quavers, but here we want to be listening specifically to top notes, which is our melodic line. Here, the melodic line is different from the previous sections in the piece because it has taken on the percussive element of bells and gongs itself. So it's no longer just, you know, lyrical, it's split across the different textures. It is really important for the melodic line to still be phrased because this is what will give us that sense of direction and the feeling of gliding throughout this section. So if we continue. Here at the peak of the section, which is the peak of the melody, you'll hear 4 low gong strikes. In gamelan, big gongs often mark a change in a cycle. So here I put the gong strikes in to signal that we're coming back down. And then we end with this D major. And this will be the last time that you hear the D major chord in full in this piece. Here in this next section, we're coming down and gradually finding our way back to the gamelan scale sound. You'll notice that here I have marked these triplets legato instead of marked because for me it's now taking on a more human voice, like a person singing. It's no longer a ringing bell, but someone singing in a distance. Okay, now we're at the very end, and here are the 4 gong strikes you hear again. Signals the end of this tune with ad-lib in the middle. You can expand it however you want. For me, because I wanted to create a sense of conclusion and resolution, I've added in leading notes. Which leads to the chord. And also in the final ad-lib, I've chosen to use a chord that serves as a dominant function before arriving into our home. And this for me creates a stronger sense of, it's finished. And that's it. That's Es Lilin in a nutshell. I hope you have enjoyed this talk through, and I hope you enjoy listening to this piece. If you haven't heard this piece yet, you could listen to it here, official music video, or stream it on Apple Music or Spotify or Deezer or Amazon Music, Google Play, so on and so forth. The score for this piece, as well as all the tunes from the Late Night 1 EP, is also out, both physically and digitally. And you can find these through the link below or on my website. And that's all from me. I hope you guys stay well and safe. And let me know what piece I should talk through next by commenting below. Bye.